Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is Carly Grennor. Carly Grennor's passion is empowering others to level up their body, brain, and spirit. She has a master's degree in sports psychology and is a board certified behavioral analyst. Carly lost over 100 pounds in 8 months by taking back control of her life. She helps people get their energy, confidence, and shine back so they can live pain-free, smile in the fitting room, and love being in front of the camera again. When Carly is not networking, you can probably find her in the gym, lifting weights or spending quality time with her family and friends. Her favorite meal is steak and Brussels sprouts, but life is all about healthy balance, so cupcakes are also a favorite. Bonus if there are sprinkles. Welcome to the podcast, Carly.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Linert.
Yeah, so excited to have you on. And we met through What Women Want networking. And it was, we had some conversations to kind of get to know each other. But I'd like everyone else to get to know you. So why don't you tell us about you, kind of where you started out, how you got to be doing what you're doing now?
Absolutely. So I have an interesting story. I developed a passion for health and fitness while I was in high school. Well, really, actually, eighth grade. I started working out with a personal trainer, Kimberley Linert, and she's phenomenal. She really ignited a passion for health and fitness. So I was into nutrition and all of that all through high school, and then went to college. And I actually went out of state to college, so wasn't working out with her anymore. You let life happen. College is fun. There's parties, there's all kinds of temptations. And so really just kind of let the working out slide a little bit. I still loved it. I was the supervisor at the school gym, so I still kind of had that. I majored in sports management throughout college. And so it was there, but just life gets in the way. You're in your 20s, you're working because you're just out of college. So you work whatever job you can find. And the weight just kind of crept in. I had a really bad ankle injury as well. So that really put a damper on my being able to work out. Anyway, so fast forward, got my ankle fixed. Fast forward to my late 20s. I watched my dad lose a little over 200 pounds using the Simple Fat Burn plan. And I really decided, you know what? I've got to get control. I've always loved health and fitness. It's time to reignite that passion. So that's where enter Catherine Marshall, founder of Simple Fat Burn, really came into my life. And while I was getting certified to coach Simple Fat Burn, I was able to lose 100 pounds in 8 months and really take back control of my life. So that really, she reignited the passion. It was always there, but she reignited it. And during that time, I was able to obtain my board certification in behavior analysis, which is great because that goes hand in hand with behavior modification and nutrition change. So that's kind of how I got to where I was, just really finding my way on a winding road. Definitely a windy road, definitely was not linear, but hey, we're here and I'm loving it. And I really think going through it and losing the weight firsthand, it really helps me be able to connect with people because I understand their struggles. I understand that, oh my gosh, I would be driving in a car and my feet hurt so bad. And it was like, oh my goodness. So that's why I say, I help people live pain-free because now I don't even think about it. I'm just able to get up and I just enjoy what I do. So yeah, that's how I got to where I am.
Beautiful. So when you were going to school, what was your intention as far as a career path? You said you went into, what did you say,
Sports management. Yeah. So that's a very good question. I think, every sports management major's dream is to kind of work with a professional sports team. But I would say 95% of those that I went to school with were not doing that. So I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I always wanted to do something in the sports field. And so that's why when I went to pursue my master's degree, it was like, okay, What's something I'm passionate about? Sports. Okay. Let's look at what field. I really enjoyed psychology classes in undergraduate. So I said, you know what? Let me get my master's degree in sports psychology. And I really did a lot of work in my graduate degree on intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So that was really cool to really learn how to ignite the inner drive in people, and the inner reward system of why people want to do what they want to do.
Mhm. So are you an athlete, or do you have a certain sport that you just love to watch?
That's a great question. I love all sports. Baseball is probably my favorite to watch. I grew up playing softball and basketball. Still love both of those. I am actually very much into weightlifting now. I do competitive powerlifting. So that's kind of where I've shifted my personal focus as far as sports go. I still play like adult league softball, which is fun. It's not fast pitch softball like I grew up playing, but it's fun, and I'm able to stay active and stay healthy. But yeah, right now I do compete in powerlifting.
Uh-huh. And what is powerlifting? Are you competing on how much you can actually lift?
We are. So I compete in bench press, squat, bench press, and deadlift. Deadlifts are absolutely my favorite. And you compete in your age group, your weight class, and then it just goes based on how much you can lift out of that.
Mhm. Wow. And bench, is that the one where you're laying down and pushing
Mm-hmm.
up?
And you
That
push up.
one's the hardest one for me.
I will say, interestingly, that's a hard one for most women, and not my favorite lift by any means. It's one of the ones that I struggle with more, and that goes based on your body type and muscle structure and all of that. So yeah, but
I go for
it's
the
fun, but
deadlifts. I go for the deadlifts too.
yeah, love them.
Yes, you have more of your whole body can help, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the bench press where it's just really the upper body.
Yes,
So it's a
absolutely.
lot harder.
Yeah.
So when you were going to school, were you thinking, oh, I want to be manager of the Braves or something like that?
That's it. Yeah. I really, not manager, but it was just kind of like, man, I could work in their office, or, I don't know. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I think I was like, I mean, there's a lot of people go to college and you have no idea. You're like, let me just pick something that's fun. I knew I didn't really want to be a PE teacher. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that route. Like, I like business. I'm good at business. It makes sense to me. So I was like, let's do sports management and let's get into the nitty gritty of how the operations run and all that. And it's like, yeah, I could work in a front office. And then it was like, the more I thought about it, I'm like, I really enjoy people and interacting with people. So that's where the psychology came in when I got my master's.
Got it. So talk about intrinsic versus extrinsic. Am I saying that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Motivation.
absolutely. Yeah.
Are we
So, okay.
motivated
So,
from inside, outside?
yeah. So intrinsic motivation is basically your internal why. And extrinsic motivation would be more like you get a trophy, or you get a compliment, something like that. So those are the extrinsic motivators, and those are very good to get you going. Mm-hmm. But the intrinsic motivation is what really keeps you going. And that's what all of the papers I did in my master's degree focused around. It took me 2 years to get it. And I think almost every paper I wrote was in some aspect of that. And it was so interesting just to see all the studies where, they really proved that to make long-term changes, you really have to have that intrinsic motivation. You have to have an internal why, which that's a good segue into, how I work with my clients. You have to really figure out your why, and you have to have a strong why, or else you're not going to be as successful. And that's just, you might have short-term success where you lose a little bit of weight, but to be able to maintain and create that healthy lifestyle and keep it, that's where you really have to have that big, strong internal why.
Mm-hmm. So after you saw your dad lose that 200 pounds and you thought, okay, it's my turn now.
I did. And what's funny is his original why was, I got to be a good example for Carly. I've got to be a good example for my daughter. I've got to show her like, hey, we can do this. And it's so funny because you have to, and my why was basically, I had gotten some blood work done and I saw a number that I wasn't overly thrilled with. It wasn't unhealthy. I didn't have any health problems, but it was like, if I don't start and take back control of my life, I'm going to have some unhealthy numbers as I approach my 30s. And so it was like, all right, it's go time. I've got to get it under control. Saw dad do it. And so, you know, now obviously his why can't be, he's got to be a good example for me because here I am doing it for a living. So he's had to change his why. And I think that's what's so interesting about, like you said, intrinsic motivation. Your why changes and you have to acknowledge that and you have to keep up with that to be able to continue to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard people say, you know, they want to be healthy because they want to be able to run around and catch their grandkids, you know, and who wants to be so tired and sick that they can't enjoy their grandchildren.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was one of the things. I did an interview right after I hit my goal weight. I did an interview with Catherine, and you know, it's funny, you hear this saying all the time, but it was so true. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like, I just don't want to hurt anymore. I want to be able to go and do fun things. And you're exactly right. That's a lot of my clients why when they come to me, it's, I got to keep up with my kids or my grandkids. And I got to tell you, kids are very energetic.
Yes.
They do not slow down. They don't. And so it takes a lot of energy to be able to keep up. And even now I'll have my best friend's kids come and visit me. And when they leave, I'm like, goodbye. I love you, but it's like, I love you. You take a lot of energy, and they're great kids. So I can only imagine super rambunctious kids having to keep up with them.
Oh yeah. And I found that when I'm not eating so healthy, so if I'm eating sugar, or for me, I know it's different for different people, but if I eat too much wheat or sugar, you know, my joints get achy. Like I don't feel as good. I feel almost, it's not even like being overweight is the problem, but sometimes I think that stuff can make you more, I don't want to say, but like more full of water. Like I think you hold water more. You don't feel as good. You don't look as good. You don't feel as good. Almost there's a puffiness. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, no, and that's a really great point. You've got that internal inflammation when you're eating the sugar and all of that. And that internal inflammation, it's so interesting when I see my clients start to lose weight. And this is, I'm going to use my dad as an example. After the first 2 weeks of him, you know, he's not really thinking he can see any changes. And then he's like, oh my gosh, I could bend over and tie my shoes. I'm not out of breath. It didn't hurt. Like, this is awesome. And I think that goes back to, I can just remember driving down the road and before I started losing weight, and it was like, my feet just hurt to the point where I had to take my shoes and socks off because they just hurt so bad. And I'm like, this is not normal. And now it's like, I can be driving down the road, and it was funny because I thought about it the other day. I was like, man, I don't have to take my shoes off anymore. I was like, this is nice. Like, cause it just takes a lot of effort to put them back on. And that just speaks to the internal inflammation that the wheat and the sugar and all of that causes. And what's bad is there's so much hidden sugar in so many things. And I know people get so frustrated because they think they're eating healthy, and really there's just all these hidden sugars and all these quote unquote diet products that are out there. And it's really, that's why I love, you know, I say I'm passionate about helping people level up their body, brain, and spirit. The brain part and the education part is so important, because if you don't know why you're doing it, it's not going to stick. You know, somebody can follow a meal plan all day long, but then if they don't truly learn what it is that they're putting in their body and why they should or shouldn't put certain things in, then they're not going to be successful long term, and they're just going to get frustrated. I see it all the time. I have friends come to me and they're like, but I had this and it's healthy. I'm like, oh, it's a candy bar, pretty much what you just ate. But, you know, and they don't know. And you don't know what you don't know. So it's really, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bars that are labeled healthy bars, and I won't name names because people would know these, but some of these supposedly healthy bars, and I thought, well, I'm eating healthy, and then you look at the amount of sugar in them, and it's not white sugar. It's it's just carbohydrates that turn into sugar, and so you think you're eating something healthy when you're really not.
Yeah. And that's frustrating. I was just at the grocery store the other day, and one of my friends picked up something, and she's like, "Hey, what about this?" And it claims to have probiotics and all this stuff in it. And I turn it over and I look at the nutrition facts, and I'm like, "It's pure sugar. No, put it back." But it's marketed as a health food, and I think that's the danger of the diet culture these days. And that's why I say, like, Simply Healthy and Simple Fat Burn, it's not a diet. It is honestly, it's a wellness plan with a side effect of weight loss. It's truly just an education plan where we teach you what's good, what's not, and we teach you how to treat your body, and how to really just achieve overall health and wellness.
Mhm. So if people don't really know what their whys are, because I know sometimes if you've been in a cycle where you've been trying to lose weight, or you don't really know your why. You know you want to lose weight, you know you want to look better, but the thing is that even is not sustainable, because as soon as you look better, you don't have a why. And so you can start going back to your old habits because you don't have a why anymore, because you've already hit that. So that's almost not good enough for that. And the other thing that kind of goes along with this is maybe like a two-part question, but bring it all out here. I can say, at least for women, I don't know about men, but and me included, I've had such a um how to say, untrue image of myself. In other words, I look at myself and I think, oh, you're just too big. I think I'm too big. And then my friends look at me and say, you're just fine. You're not too big. But we have this image in our mind that we're a lot bigger than we are. Where does that come from?
Yeah, those are two great questions. And that actually is where my behavior analysis ties in so nicely, because you have to identify your core values. And really, if you boil it down, once you identify your core values, that's really where your why comes from. And so I value family. So I want to be a good example for my family. I want to be around to take care of my family. I don't want my family to have to take care of me. Um, so really just identifying those core values, and then also identifying those negative internal experiences we have. And so, like you said, that negative self-talk, that's a huge one. And we are our own worst critics. Everybody's heard that saying, and it's so true, because I get so frustrated with myself sometimes, and this is what I do for a living. And so, I'm here to tell you, like, nobody's perfect by any means. We all struggle. That negative self-talk, if you let it, oh my goodness, it can control your entire life. And so really, what's important is you identify that you have these negative internal experiences, like, yeah, and you acknowledge, absolutely, yes, I'm having this thought. It's not true. I've got to figure out a way to combat it. And just a lot of times, just identifying that you're having it makes it a little bit easier to reverse it and find another way to handle it. And I kind of do like this matrix. So you have your core values, and then you have your negative internal experiences, and then you have your negative external experiences. So those are like the behaviors that we engage in that really kind of move us away from our goals. And then you have your positive external experiences. So the things we do that move us toward our goals. And really, it's really creating habits out of those positive experiences. And here's the thing, your negative external experiences, yes, they're not moving you towards your goals. Sometimes you might choose to do them. Like having a cookie is technically a negative external experience. It's not going to move you towards your goals. But if you make that your choice rather than your habit, and you make your habit your positive ones, that's where you really start to see the results. And I don't know if that's getting too deep or if that makes sense on surface level, but that's kind of where I really like to take my clients, is to identify, like, yes, this isn't going to move me towards my goal, but I'm going to make this choice, and that's okay. I'm acknowledging I'm going to do it because, overall, I'm still having habits out of these positive experiences, and I'm still moving towards my goals.
I like that distinction of habits as compared to a choice. So if my day-to-day habit is to eat healthy and to choose healthy foods and to go to the gym, or like for me, I've been doing my morning walk. We're doing healthy things. And then if we decide we want a candy bar one day, that's our choice, but we're not choosing to eat the candy bar every day. We're just that day choosing to have a candy bar.
Correct. Yeah. And that's what I always say. It's, especially, I really teach people, it's not a matter of what you can and can't have. It's a matter of how much and how often, and that's where the education comes in. Like, I know I can have X amount of cookies on Christmas, whatever, and I'm still going to be okay, or really cupcakes, because cupcakes are my thing. You said that in my intro. And I'm serious about the sprinkles. Sprinkles are life. They make everything better. Just like glitter is my favorite color. Just makes everything better and shine a little brighter. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I know I can have a cupcake and I'm going to be okay. But I also know I'm not bringing a dozen cupcakes into my house, because especially if there's sprinkles on them, I'm going to eat them. And so I just choose not to bring them in my house. But, if I'm out somewhere and it's like, okay, I really want this, I'm going to have it. So it's not a matter of what you can and can't have. It's a matter of how much and how often.
Now, on the program that you have, is everyone eating the same types of foods, or do you have people that are vegetarian and people that are I don't know, more ketogenic or paleo, or what they have all these diets out.
They
Are you
do.
putting everyone on something the same or different?
Yeah. So here's the thing. It encompasses, if you're a vegetarian, there are ways you can do the simple fat burn plan that is absolutely vegetarian friendly, vegan friendly even. And then, I do eat meat. So, it's not really necessarily paleo or ketogenic. I think the wonderful thing about the simple fat burn program is it kind of takes the really great parts of a lot of the things out there, and it's all science based. And that's what's so cool about it. It's your body chemistry. And that's what it really boils down to, is really understanding, okay, these are the numbers I need to hit. So, it really focuses on, like I said, just overall health and wellness. And so it takes key parts of lots of different plans out there. And it really just brings that overall wellness goal to mind. So like I said, it's not really a weight loss plan. It's a lifestyle plan with a side effect of weight loss.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, what does consistency and perseverance have to do with it? And what do we do when we feel like giving up? How do we keep that perseverance going?
Yeah, I think one of the really cool parts of, and what I really learned, and how I was really able to be so successful with the weight loss and become such an effective coach, is I really soared through the mindset work. Because it's not just about me telling you, okay, here's how you need to eat. It's, okay, we're going to do spiritual practices. And that's not necessarily, that doesn't mean religious practices. It's whatever moves you, whatever sounds good to you. So, meditation, scripting, all all of that, gratitude practices, and then prayer for some people. And it's different for everyone, but really getting the spiritual stuff nailed down and the mindset work. The mindset work is so important because if you're going to be successful long term, you have to have that true mindset of, okay, things are not going the way I want them to. And so you talk about perseverance and consistency, and it's really just showing up. And it's really great because you have a community around you. I really encourage everyone to have accountability partners. I talk a lot about that in lots of interviews that I've done. I have accountability partners for probably everything that I'm trying to accomplish in my life, whether it's building my business and social media and all of those things, you know. So staying on your food plan, if it's something you struggle with, we know like we've got to have that accountability. And so being consistent with your accountability partners and really having accountability in general helps you be more consistent. And so you're able to persevere through when it gets hard. And, you know, I always, while I was going through the program, losing weight, I would get so frustrated. And I remember my dad was one of my accountability partners. I would call him and be like, man, I'm so frustrated. The scale's not moving. I'm working so hard. And he would just tell me these 3 words. He would say, trust the process. Like, okay. And that's what I needed to hear. And so now I'm able to internally say that to myself sometimes whenever I'm whatever it is I'm working on. It's like, okay, trust the process. And really, you've got to just make it a habit to show up, because sometimes showing up is half the battle, if not more than half the battle.
Yeah. So, if people are, let's say they've tried a lot of things and you said there's like science behind this, and like everybody says, well, there's science behind their way of doing things, but talk a little bit about the science. How does it work? Is it math? Is it, how does it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know, we all have it's body chemistry. So basically we burn what we're putting into our body. So, you know, we have to keep our blood sugar level. When we're spiking our insulin and having it drop, you spike, you drop, that's where you get the cravings. That's where you're eating the cake and the sandwiches and all of that. And when we're putting that kind of stuff into our body, all your body's doing is burning that sugar that you're putting in there for your energy. You're never tapping into that fat store. But if you can control your blood sugar and keep it between 70 and 110, ideally, I mean, obviously it's going to differ a little bit for every individual, but keeping that blood sugar level, then you're burning your fat stores, or you're just burning the fat that you're putting into your body, and you're burning that for energy, and it's more efficient. You know, your muscles are healthier, and you're just overall, you don't have the internal inflammation. You don't have all that other stuff to deal with, and you just feel better. So when you keep that blood sugar level, and that's really what the Simple Fat Burn Plan is about, is controlling that blood sugar and keeping it level.
So let's say you had a day where you ate those 3 cookies, and so your sugar is spiking. Is there foods that help to bring the sugar back down, or do you just have to wait it out and wait for tomorrow and start again?
Yeah. So I always say, never give up an entire day just because you had one bad thing. Proteins and fats really are blood sugar levelers. And so, you know, when my clients eat carbohydrates, vegetables are carbohydrates. You know, and so that it's a source of carbs. And I always recommend pairing everything with a protein so that you get that blood sugar leveled out, and the fat too. You know, when your blood sugar is that high, you're going to have to fight through the cravings, because we do crave what we eat. And so I know that if I start craving the cookies, I'm like, all right, girl, you've had one too many cupcakes or whatever. It's like, you got to reel it back in. And that's where you get to really understand your body, because it's like, man, I'll say, because most of the time, like, I can go out and my friends will say, oh my gosh, we need to get dessert. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't need it. You know, but if I'm like, yes, girl, let's get dessert, then I'm thinking to myself, okay, I need to reel it back in. I've been doing some stuff. Like if I'm really craving, it's like I've been eating some stuff that I shouldn't have been eating. So I can identify that and then just fight through it. And really making sure you get enough fiber in your body too, fiber in your diet. That really helps with cravings as well. So, because it makes you fuller and then you don't want all the sugary stuff.
When you say fiber, are you talking about like salads or?
Yeah, greens are a great source of fiber. Yeah, any way to get fiber in your body is good. Fiber is great for you.
So there might be other people like me who maybe I'm eating well, but I'll have a craving because all of a sudden there is stress in my life. So I feel stress or some emotional upset, and then I'm thinking that I need some sugar. What's happening there?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's the stress. And, you start to really, you have those stress hormones released and all of that. And that's where it's so important where you have that mindset work so that you are able to control your stress without stress eating. And it's really important to have strategies in place where you can recognize, okay, I'm stress eating. This is not okay. Let me figure out a way. Let me go get a workout in, or let me, go for a walk. Let me read a book or something like that. So it's really important to do a lot of self-discovery. And that's where I think the mindset work is so powerful with what we do, because we help you identify potentially dangerous situations so that when you get into them, it's like, oh, I know what to do. Carly coached me through this. Like, I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to go read a book, or I'm supposed to reach out to my accountability partner, or whatever it is, because I'm about to have this stress cupcake. I wasn't planning on having it. It needs to stay away. And then also just not having that stuff in the house. That's probably the easiest strategy. I don't have cupcakes in my house because I will eat them.
Yes. Just depends on who you live with, though. Some people have, like, I have other people living with me, so I could have a clear pantry of healthy things, but my daughter might have a whole box of donuts, which actually there was donuts up on the counter when I came home today. So hard when you just see them.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's where I really encourage people to, if they're on this health journey and they know that it's a trigger and they know that it's hard and you can't just easily say no, thank you, have the conversation with your loved ones, because chances are 9 times out of 10, they just don't realize that it's a trigger. And if you just ask them, hey, could you put these elsewhere? They'd be happy to, or they'd be happy not to bring them into the house or whatever it is. I always say it's important to be transparent with the ones that are going to be the closest to you, because you've got to have them on board. And, I've had to talk some clients through some very tough conversations with their loved ones, like, hey, you have got to stop enabling me. You've got to stop. And it's, they're not necessarily fun conversations, but I've also never had a conversation with a close friend where I've said, hey, look, when we go out, we really need to avoid the Mexican restaurant because I will eat those chips and salsa and chips and queso. So if we choose to go out to dinner, can we go somewhere else? My friends have never said, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. I've never had that, and so most of the time you're going to find that people are way more supportive than you give them credit for.
Yeah. And I like in our house, I love like chocolate, anything chocolate. So when my daughter makes brownies, I tell her, when you're done making the brownies, even though I can smell them, I want you to put them on top of the refrigerator, because again, it's not that trigger.
Yep. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. So what about going to restaurants? No, when I go to restaurants, I'm known as, I'm sure the waiters hate it when they see me coming, because I say, well, I want the hamburger with no cheese, with no bread, with lettuce, with tomato, extra lettuce. They must think, oh my goodness. But, I figure I'm paying for it, so I should get whatever I want. But
absolutely.
What is your advice to people when they go to a restaurant?
I'm going to say, ask for what you want, because like you said, you're paying for it. Most of the time they'll give you what you want. I've been known to, I know that people put spinach in their salads. And so, they have spinach. It's not necessarily a side item, but I've gone to a restaurant before. I'm like, I would just like a piece of grilled chicken. And then can I just have some raw spinach on the side? And they're like, are you sure that's all you want? I'm like, that's all I want. And they're like, okay. So, and they'll do it for you. You just got to ask. You can't be shy. And one of my very, very good friends is a server, and I've asked her before. I said, is it really that bad when people ask? And she's probably the most ridiculous one when we go out to a restaurant with special requests. She's like, no, it's not that bad. They don't care. It's really no effort to them. So you just have to ask for what you want and plan ahead. I always know what I'm going to order before I go. That way I'm not looking at the menu and looking at all the delicious food that is on the menu, because they make those pictures look so good in the menus. And so 9 times out of 10, I don't even open the menu because I know what I'm getting. And that's, it's interesting that you bring that up, because most people think, oh my gosh, you go out to eat, you can't lose weight. I got to tell you, I am not a cook. I don't like to do it. I do it sometimes. I always have some stuff prepared so that I'm able to really quickly grab something. But I will say I lost over 100 pounds eating out. I would say probably 75% of the time, because I just don't like to cook and I don't want to. So, there are ways to do it that are healthy, and there are strategies you can put in place to make sure you stay on track.
Beautiful. So if people actually wanted to, work with you and they're thinking, oh, maybe with her, I could do it this time. How would they get a hold of you? Or do you have a website?
Yeah. So you can find me on Facebook, Simply Healthy with Carly, or just Carly Grennor on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Carly Grennor, on LinkedIn as Carly Grennor. And you're welcome to put my phone number in the comments or wherever you can. So yeah, that's probably the best way to get a hold of me, Facebook or Instagram. Send me a message on there. I do have a website. It's simplyhealthycarly.com. I'm in the process of revising it though. So but it's there. So you can reach out to me through that as well. But yeah, Instagram and Facebook is probably the best way.
Okay. And just changing gears a little bit. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life right now?
Being able to educate people to really reach their goals and to motivate people, it brings me so much joy when I have a client come to me and say, Carly, I went to the doctor and he did a double take at my lab numbers because they're so much better in just 3 months. My doctor was able to take one of my medications away, something like that. When clients come to me and say that they're making true life changes, it's great when they come to me and say, oh my gosh, I've lost 20, 30 pounds. That's awesome. And I love it. I'm here for it. But it's so impactful when people can come to me and say, I was able to do this for the first time in so long, or I was able to get off of a medication or something like that. It's so rewarding. And to see the people have the aha moments and to come to me and say, oh my gosh, Carly, I get this. I was thinking this, and then I was able to reprogram and think about it this way. And then I had no trouble. It's so cool to watch it click for people. And it's just so rewarding to see people excel and succeed and reach their goals.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for all your great tips and, knowledge about motivation.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, yes, thank you. So I have one last question before we finish.
Okay.
What's your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Oh, my best advice on living an incredible, amazing life is to live a life of love. And by that, I mean give love, but also love yourself over everything. You are the most important person, and you cannot pour from an empty cup. So it is so important to take care of yourself, love yourself, and give yourself the grace that you give other people. When you can do that, I think you can truly find your passions and you can really go after what you want and reach your goals, and just be persistent and don't apologize for who you are. Be who you are and be happy about it, because we only get one life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Carly.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful, and you do amazing work. I am so grateful for you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Carly. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Bye.